Behind Hollywood's glamour lies a world few dare to see, where fame turns toxic and power becomes a curse. These actors once ruled the spotlight, but their fall was swift and unforgiving. Now, instead of applause, they hear the sound of steel doors closing. Join us as Exposed Hollywood pulls back the curtain on 22 actors who are now rotting in jail, and the shocking crimes that put them there. Zack Avery, the Hollywood dream that turned into a $650 million nightmare. Zack Avery wasn't a household name, but in Hollywood he looked like the next big thing, an actor with charisma, charm, and a flair for business. Behind that polished smile, though, was one of the biggest scams the entertainment industry had ever seen. Under the sleek name Zack Avery, he crafted a picture-perfect image, a rising star and the mastermind behind 1 Newton Meter Capital, a film investment company he claimed had struck gold through exclusive distribution deals with giants like HBO and Netflix. Investors lined up, dazzled by his confidence and the promise of huge returns. But it was all smoke and mirrors. Between 2014 and 2019, Avery, whose real name is Zachary Horwitz, was running a massive $650 million Ponzi scheme. The profits were fake, the deals were forged, and the money from new investors was simply paying off the old ones. Meanwhile, Horwitz lived like a king. A $6 million mansion in Beverly Hills. Luxury cars. Designer suits. Lavish parties. Every detail of his life was choreographed to sell the illusion of success. Eventually, the illusion shattered. When the money stopped flowing and questions began piling up, the truth came crashing down. In 2021, federal agents arrested Horwitz, exposing the web of lies that had fooled some of Hollywood's most sophisticated investors. A year later, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison for securities fraud. Zack Avery's story is more than just a tale of greed, it's a chilling reminder that in Hollywood, not everything that glitters is gold. Sometimes, it's just fool's gold shining under the spotlight. Joe's son, once known for his goofy charm in Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, became a name the public would never laugh at again. Behind the scenes, his real life hid a dark and horrifying secret. Before his downfall, Joe's son had a promising career as both an actor and MMA fighter. But in 2008, his world collapsed when investigators uncovered his involvement in a violent sexual assault that took place back in 1990. The victim, in a tearful and haunting testimony, described the night she was attacked, beaten, and threatened, a nightmare that would haunt her for decades. For years, the case remained unsolved due to lack of evidence. But fate had other plans. Nearly 2 decades later, a DNA sample taken from Joe's son during another case shockingly matched evidence from the 1990 assault. That single test reopened the wounds of the past, and finally brought long-awaited justice. The courtroom erupted in outrage as prosecutors detailed the brutal nature of the crime. With undeniable DNA proof and powerful testimony, Joe's son's mask of comedy shattered. In 2011, he was sentenced to life in prison. For the victim, justice came late, but it came. "I've lived with this pain for so many years," she said. "Now I can finally begin to heal." Joe's son's fall from a Hollywood comedian to a convicted criminal serves as a chilling reminder. No matter how long it takes, the truth always finds its way to the surface, and justice never forgets. William Hayden, once celebrated as the fearless star of Sons of Guns and a master gunsmith admired across America, built an empire on craftsmanship, charisma, and the illusion of integrity. But behind the glossy reality TV fame lay a nightmare no one saw coming. In 2014, that facade began to crumble. Hayden was accused of horrifying acts of abuse, igniting a chain of shocking allegations that spanned years and shattered the myth of the man viewers thought they knew. Investigators soon uncovered a web of victims, including members of his own family, whose testimonies revealed a chilling double life of manipulation and cruelty. As more evidence surfaced, from emotional interviews to damning medical reports, the truth became undeniable. The man once hailed as a symbol of American grit was now exposed as a predator hiding in plain sight. In 2017, the final verdict came: life in prison. His show was canceled overnight. His fame erased. The once respected face of the firearms world became a haunting reminder of how power, when abused, can destroy everything: fame, family, and faith in the people we trust most. Colin Rashad Walker, from rising star to convicted predator. Colin Rashad Walker, once hailed as one of Hollywood's most promising young talents, seemed destined for greatness. With roles in major projects like Straight Outta Compton, he had the looks, the charisma, and the drive to make it big. But behind the bright lights and red carpets lurked a chilling darkness. In 2018, Walker's shining image came crashing down when he was arrested on multiple counts of sexual assault. Prosecutors revealed a disturbing pattern. He had used his rising fame to lure aspiring young women, offering fake promises of helping them break into the entertainment industry, only to manipulate and assault them. During his 2022 trial, victims took the stand and painted a horrifying picture. They described how Walker preyed on their dreams, using charm, deception, and threats to exert control. The testimonies were gut-wrenching, exposing not just his crimes, but the predatory power dynamics festering in Hollywood's shadows. Ultimately, Walker was convicted on several counts of sexual assault and rape, earning a lengthy prison sentence. The verdict sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, a sobering reminder that behind the glamour, power can be weaponized in the most devastating ways. Public outrage was swift and unforgiving. Fans, industry insiders, and advocates condemned his actions, demanding accountability from the very system that had once celebrated him. What was once the story of a rising star is now a cautionary tale, a tragic descent from fame to infamy, leaving behind a trail of broken trust and shattered lives. Michael Jace, from Hollywood star to convicted killer. Michael Jace, once celebrated for his role as Officer Julian Lowe in The Shield, became the center of one of Hollywood's most chilling real-life tragedies. On the night of May 19, 2014, a frantic 911 call from Jace's Los Angeles home shattered the peace of a quiet neighborhood. When police arrived, they uncovered a nightmare. His wife, April Jace, a devoted mother and talented track athlete, was lying lifeless in a pool of blood. But the horror didn't end there. Their two young sons, frozen in shock, had witnessed the unthinkable, the moment their father pulled the trigger and ended their mother's life. During the trial, prosecutors painted a picture of rage and despair fueled by money troubles and marital tension. One haunting detail echoed through the courtroom: Jace's final words before pulling the trigger: "If you want to run, run to heaven." Those words would forever define the case, a dark echo of cruelty from a man once loved by millions. In 2016, Michael Jace was sentenced to 40 years to life in prison, his name forever etched in infamy. Once a respected television star, he became a grim reminder that beneath fame and success can hide a darkness capable of destroying everything and everyone you love. Drechsel, once celebrated as a symbol of strength, agility, and determination, has seen his reputation crumble under the weight of disturbing revelations. The athlete, once adored by millions in the sports world, was investigated and charged with the sexual abuse of a minor and the production of explicit, illegal materials. According to FBI reports, Drechsel formed an inappropriate relationship with a young girl he met at a sports event, a relationship that would span years. Authorities allege he used his fame and influence to manipulate and control the victim. Investigators uncovered chilling evidence in the form of text messages, photos, and digital files that painted a dark picture of abuse and deception. What made the case even more horrifying was the discovery that Drechsel didn't just commit the acts, he recorded and stored them. This revelation sent shockwaves through both the sports community and his global fanbase. The man once hailed as a hero for his discipline and athleticism was now branded as a symbol of betrayal, corruption, and moral decay. As the truth unfolded, conversations about safety, background checks, and the ethics of reality competition shows ignited nationwide. The fall of Drechsel became a cautionary tale, a reminder that behind the spotlight, darkness can hide in plain sight. In the end, his sentence marked not just the end of a career, but the destruction of a legacy that will forever be remembered for the wrong reasons. Joe Exotic, born Joseph Maldonado Passage, wasn't just another reality TV personality, He was a walking storm of chaos and charisma. The world met him through the explosive Netflix series Tiger King, where he reigned over his private zoo with wild energy, big cats, and even bigger scandals. His eccentric personality made him famous, but his reckless behavior made him infamous. Behind the outrageous music videos, the flashy clothes, and the feuds, there was something darker brewing. A story of obsession that spiraled into crime. In 2019, Joe's life took a terrifying turn when he was arrested for attempting to hire a hitman to kill his rival, animal rights activist Carole Baskin. The two had been locked in a bitter war for years after Carole accused Joe of animal cruelty at his zoo. Fueled by rage, Joe paid $3,000 to have her murdered, but the plot fell apart before it began. His arrest led to even more shocking revelations: the illegal killing of 5 tigers and wildlife trafficking charges. In 2020, Joe Exotic was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison. Today, he stands as a cautionary tale, a symbol of how fame, ego, and hatred can consume a man until nothing's left but the wreckage of his own creation. It's hard to believe how far he fell, from self-proclaimed Tiger King to a prisoner behind bars. What do you think? Did Joe deserve his fate? Or was he a victim of his own fame? If you believe his conviction was unfair, comment 0. If you think justice was served, drop a 2 below. Skyler Deleon, from child actor to cold-blooded killer. Once a bright young talent who appeared on The Wonder Years, Skyler Deleon seemed destined for Hollywood success. But beneath that innocent smile lay a darkness that would shock the nation. By 2004, his acting dreams had long faded, replaced by greed and desperation. That's when Skyler and his accomplices hatched a chilling plan to steal the luxurious yacht of Thomas and Jackie Hawks. Disguised as a potential buyer, Deleon lured the couple aboard under the guise of finalizing a sale. Once at sea, the encounter turned into a nightmare. The Hawks were bound, forced to sign over ownership papers, and then, in an act of unspeakable cruelty, pushed overboard while still alive, left to sink beneath the waves with no chance to escape. The evidence was overwhelming: fingerprints, witness accounts, and testimony from an accomplice painted Deleon as the cold mastermind behind the murders. The public was horrified. How could a man once seen on family television become capable of such evil? In 2009, Skyler Deleon was sentenced to death, his name forever etched into the dark history of Hollywood's fallen stars. His story stands as a chilling reminder that fame can fade, but choices, especially deadly ones, leave consequences that last forever. Zara Phythian, the fierce martial artist who once dazzled audiences in Doctor Strange, was celebrated for her discipline, talent, and unstoppable strength. But in 2022, her story took a dark and unexpected turn. The same woman who embodied power on screen would soon face one of the most shocking downfalls in modern Hollywood. In court, disturbing details emerged. A young girl, only 13 at the time, revealed how Zara and her husband, Victor Mark, had slowly gained her trust, only to manipulate and exploit that bond in ways too horrific to imagine. Over time, messages, testimonies, and evidence uncovered a chilling betrayal of innocence and power. The revelations shattered her once golden reputation. Fans who had admired her courage and grace were left stunned, questioning how someone who stood for strength could fall so far from grace. When the verdict was read, it marked not just the end of a promising career, but the collapse of an image built on respect and admiration. Zara Phythian's conviction sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, raising haunting questions about the abuse of influence, the fragility of fame, and how easily trust can be weaponized behind closed doors. Amy Locane, from stardom to a shattered life. Amy Locane, once the dazzling star of Melrose Place, captured hearts with her radiant beauty and undeniable talent. For a moment, she seemed destined for Hollywood greatness. But that bright light dimmed far too soon, snuffed out by one reckless decision that changed everything. One night, under the influence, Amy got behind the wheel. In a matter of seconds, her car collided with another, leaving one woman dead and another gravely injured. The crash didn't just claim a life, it destroyed 3. The actress who once graced the screen with effortless charm was now front-page news for all the wrong reasons. Her 8-year prison sentence wasn't just a legal punishment, it was the tragic finale of a once promising career. The name that once meant beauty and talent became forever linked to pain and regret. Inside that courtroom, Amy's eyes told a story words could never express: deep remorse, unbearable guilt, and the haunting weight of knowing she could never undo what was done. The car she drove became a weapon of fate, leaving behind shattered families and unhealed wounds. Fame offered no protection from justice. Hollywood's spotlight turned cold as she traded red carpets for gray walls and silence. After serving her sentence, Amy walked out a free woman, but not a liberated one. Freedom could not erase the shadow of her past. Everywhere she went, whispers followed. Former fans spoke her name with sorrow, not admiration. She tried to rebuild her life, but the world rarely forgives a fallen star. Amy Locane's story is more than a personal tragedy, it's a powerful reminder of how one careless moment can destroy lives. A lesson that no amount of fame, fortune, or beauty can ever outweigh the price of responsibility. Jen Shah, from reality royalty to prison reality. Jen Shah, once the glamorous queen of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, was known for her fierce attitude, designer outfits, and unapologetic display of wealth. But behind the glitz and chaos of reality TV, a dark secret was waiting to explode. In 2021, the unthinkable happened. Jen was arrested in a massive federal fraud case that shocked fans across America. Prosecutors accused her of running a nationwide telemarketing scheme that targeted thousands of innocent victims, many of them elderly, stealing their savings through promises of fake business opportunities. It wasn't just a scandal, it was betrayal on a grand scale. Investigators uncovered emails, text messages, and phone records exposing how Jen and her associates manipulated people's trust, using her fame as a weapon. "I trusted them and lost everything I had," one victim cried in court. At first, Jen denied everything, claiming innocence in front of cameras and fans. But when the evidence became undeniable, she broke. In 2022, Jen Shah finally confessed, and the judge sentenced her to 6.5 years in federal prison. The woman once draped in luxury now traded her designer gowns for a prison uniform. Her story stands as a brutal reminder of what happens when ambition turns to greed and fame becomes a mask for deception. Once admired for her boldness and style, Jen Shah is now remembered as a warning, proof that no one, not even reality TV royalty, is above the law. Shannon Richardson, from rising actress to infamous criminal. Shannon Richardson, a face once recognized from The Walking Dead and The Vampire Diaries, was on the path to Hollywood success. Audiences knew her as a promising supporting actress, but few could have imagined the darkness that would one day make her name infamous. In 2013, the entertainment world was stunned when Richardson was arrested in connection with a chilling act of bioterrorism. She had mailed ricin-laced letters to President Barack Obama and New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, an attack that sent shockwaves through both Washington and Hollywood. As federal agents uncovered the deadly scheme, the story gripped the nation. The discovery of the poisoned letters sparked panic and a desperate hunt for the person behind them. When the evidence led to Richardson, she tried to frame her husband to escape blame. But the truth couldn't be hidden. Her fingerprints, computer data, and purchase records told a damning story. In July 2014, Shannon Richardson was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. What began as a quest for fame ended in infamy, marking one of the most disturbing scandals to ever emerge from Hollywood's glittering shadow. Richardson's downfall is a haunting reminder that behind the spotlight, the line between ambition and self-destruction can blur, and when it does, even a rising star can fall into darkness. Ryan Grantham, once a bright young talent adored for his roles in Riverdale and Diary of a Wimpy Kid, seemed destined for Hollywood greatness. But behind that innocent face hid a darkness no one could have imagined. In March 2020, the 21-year-old actor committed an unthinkable act. He shot and killed his own mother, Barbara Waite, inside their British Columbia home. The murder was coldly premeditated, and even more disturbing, Grantham filmed a confession video, showing no trace of emotion or remorse. The revelation sent shockwaves through fans and the entertainment world alike, as the rising star's name became forever linked to horror rather than hope. But the nightmare didn't end there. Investigators later discovered that after killing his mother, Grantham had packed weapons, ammunition, and a map of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's residence, intending to assassinate him. Though he ultimately abandoned the plan and turned himself in, the mere thought of what might have been left the nation in disbelief. During his trial, prosecutors described a young man spiraling into a mental breakdown, consumed by despair and delusion. Yet despite his reported struggles, the court found his actions unforgivable. In 2022, Ryan Grantham was sentenced to life in prison, with no chance of parole for 14 years. Once hailed as a promising actor, Grantham's story now stands as a chilling reminder of how quickly talent can be overshadowed by tragedy, and how the human mind, left unchecked, can turn promise into peril. Jared Fogle was once the face of transformation, the man who turned a simple diet into a global movement. With his incredible weight loss story, he inspired millions and became the smiling symbol of Subway's promise. Change your life, one sandwich at a time. But behind that wholesome image hid a darkness no one could have imagined. In 2015, the illusion shattered. Fogle, the man America once celebrated, was arrested for horrific crimes involving minors and the possession of illegal materials. The investigation began when a close associate tipped off the FBI, and what they uncovered was chilling. Messages, recordings, and digital evidence exposed a pattern of disturbing behavior that tore apart the carefully built image of a national hero. During the trial, witness after witness helped reveal the full scope of Fogle's deceit. Though he pleaded guilty and expressed remorse, the damage was irreversible. His sentence, over 15 years in federal prison, marked not only the end of his career but the destruction of his legacy. Jared Fogle's story stands as a haunting reminder that public image and private reality can be worlds apart, and sometimes, what looks like inspiration on the surface hides something far more sinister beneath. Harvey Weinstein, once the towering titan of Hollywood, was a man whose name alone could make or break careers. As the co-founder of Miramax and the Weinstein Company, he didn't just produce movies, he reshaped cinema itself. From Pulp Fiction and Good Will Hunting to Shakespeare in Love, The English Patient, Chicago, and The King's Speech, Weinstein built an empire that dominated awards season and launched countless stars to superstardom. For decades, he embodied absolute power, a king behind the curtain of Hollywood's Golden Gates. But in October 2017, that empire came crashing down. When more than 80 women, including some of the most powerful actresses in the industry, stepped forward with harrowing accusations of abuse and misconduct, the world finally saw the man behind the myth. The revelations were explosive, igniting the global #MeToo movement and forever altering the balance of power in Hollywood. Weinstein was swiftly fired from his own company, expelled from the Academy, and arrested in May 2018. 2 years later, in February 2020, justice was served. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison. It was a historic reckoning, one that sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Today, the once mighty mogul sits in a wheelchair, frail and unrecognizable. Gone are the designer suits and red carpet confidence, replaced by sagging prison clothes and hollow eyes that tell a story of downfall and disgrace. Confined, isolated, and forgotten, Harvey Weinstein now lives out his days haunted by the very power that once made him untouchable, a fallen king, trapped in the ruins of his own making. Justin Bieber, the boy with the angelic voice who took over the world before he could even drive. Discovered on YouTube and catapulted into stardom with his 2009 debut album My World, Bieber became the face of a new generation of pop. His charm, talent, and infectious hits made him a global phenomenon, adored by millions of fans across continents. But fame came with a price. Behind the flashing lights and screaming crowds, Justin struggled to cope with the pressures of stardom. By 2013, his picture-perfect image began to crack. Headlines exploded with reports of reckless behavior, wild parties, and run-ins with the law. In 2014, the world watched in shock as he was arrested in Miami for driving under the influence and resisting arrest, a moment that marked the darkest chapter of his young life. Overnight, The clean-cut teen idol had become a cautionary tale of fame gone too far. The arrest tarnished his reputation, forcing him into courtrooms, rehabilitation programs, and public apologies. Fans were divided. Could their idol come back from this? For Justin, it became a wake-up call. The years that followed were a painful journey of reflection, redemption, and rebirth. He sought therapy, leaned on faith, and worked to rebuild broken relationships with his family, friends, and fans. Then came Purpose in 2015, an album that didn't just mark a musical comeback, but a spiritual one. Songs like Sorry and Love Yourself showed a new Justin, honest, vulnerable, and human. He had learned to turn his mistakes into music, his pain into purpose. Today, Justin Bieber stands not just as a pop icon, but as a symbol of resilience. His story reminds the world that even at rock bottom, redemption is possible, and sometimes, the hardest battles are the ones fought within. Allison Mack, once adored as Chloe Sullivan on Smallville, the sharp, loyal friend every fan loved, had the world at her feet. But behind the bright smile and fame hid a darkness no one could have imagined. In 2018, Hollywood was shaken to its core when Mack was arrested at her Los Angeles home, accused of playing a key role in NXIVM, a so-called self-help organization that was, in truth, a secretive sex cult. Using her celebrity influence, Mack lured ambitious young women with promises of mentorship and empowerment. Instead, they were drawn into a web of control, fear, and abuse. Inside NXIVM, victims were branded, literally, with the initials of its founder, Keith Raniere, and forced into submission. Prosecutors revealed chilling evidence, emails, text messages, and recordings that exposed Mack not just as a participant, but as a recruiter and enforcer within the cult. In 2021, Allison Mack was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison for her involvement in human trafficking and forced labor conspiracy. Her fall from grace became one of the most shocking scandals in modern Hollywood history, a haunting reminder that even the brightest stars can harbor the darkest secrets. Once seen as a beacon of strength and integrity, Mack's story now stands as a tragic warning of how power and fame can be twisted to manipulate, control, and destroy. Lindsay Lohan, once Hollywood's golden girl, the face of a generation. With her sparkling eyes and carefree smile, she captured hearts in The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and ultimately reigned supreme in Mean Girls. But behind the laughter and lights, fame became a trap of its own. The very industry that built her up began to break her down, feeding her youth to the machinery of excess and attention. By her mid-20s, the sweet, innocent Katie Heron was gone. In her place stood a woman consumed by chaos, car crashes, court dates, mugshots splashed across tabloids. Between 2007 and 2011, Lindsay's name became synonymous with scandal, DUIs, substance abuse, theft, and endless probation violations. Jail time followed, cold cells, ankle monitors, rehab after rehab. The once beloved star was now a whispered rumor in the night. Lohan's here. Inside those gray walls, she wasn't the Hollywood darling anymore. She was just another inmate scrubbing trays, facing the cruel laughter of guards and strangers who once adored her. And when she finally walked out, freedom didn't mean forgiveness. Every headline, every whisper carried the same cruel echo. She was once an icon. Lindsay's downfall wasn't just the collapse of a career. It was the slow decay of innocence, the golden girl who burned too brightly only to be consumed by her own light. Winona Ryder, the face of 1990s Hollywood rebellion and grace. From Beetlejuice, 1988, to Edward Scissorhands, 1990, she embodied a generation's spirit, quirky, mysterious, and unforgettable. But in 2001, that golden image shattered overnight. The beloved star was arrested for shoplifting in Beverly Hills, her name splashed across every tabloid headline in America. The news stunned fans. How could one of Hollywood's brightest stars fall so far, so fast? Authorities claimed Ryder had stolen over $5,000 worth of designer clothes and cosmetics from Saks Fifth Avenue. Cameras flashed as she was led away. A picture-perfect celebrity suddenly caught in a nightmare. Her arrest triggered a media storm and endless speculation about her mental state. In court, she faced charges of theft, fraud, and vandalism. Though she insisted she had no memory of taking the items, the damage was done. The jury found her guilty on multiple counts, sentencing her to community service, restitution, and counseling. For a while, it seemed like her dazzling career had dimmed forever. Yet, Winona didn't vanish, she rebuilt. After years of silence, she made a triumphant return in 2016 with Netflix's Stranger Things, stunning audiences with her raw, emotional performance as Joyce Byers. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a resurrection. Winona later reflected that the scandal forced her to grow up, to understand herself beyond fame. Once seen as a fallen star, she rose again, wiser, stronger, and more human than ever. Her story reminds us that even in Hollywood, redemption is possible, and sometimes, the most powerful comebacks begin with the deepest falls. Vybz Kartel, once hailed as the king of Jamaican dancehall, a lyrical genius who turned street slang into poetry and made the world move to his rhythm. But behind the fame, his story spiraled into darkness. It all began with a feud involving Clive "Lizard" Williams, a man accused of stealing one of Kartel's guns. What started as a dispute turned into a chilling murder case that would forever change the face of reggae. Authorities claimed Kartel didn't just order retribution, he orchestrated it. On December 29, 2011, the star who once filled stadiums found himself behind bars, charged with drug possession, illegal weapons, and ultimately, murder. Though he made bail for the minor charges, freedom slipped further from reach as the Williams case deepened. For 3 long years, delays, witness issues, and jury troubles plagued the trial, one of the longest in Jamaica's history. Finally, in March 2014, after a 65-day courtroom battle, an 11-member jury delivered its verdict, guilty. Kartel was sentenced to life in prison, with a faint hope of parole after 32 years and 6 months, meaning he could walk free in 2046. Today, Vybz Kartel's story stands as both tragedy and warning, a tale of brilliance undone by violence. From dancehall legend to inmate, his fall reminds the world that even the brightest stars can cast the darkest shadows. Carmen Electra, the fiery bombshell who set the 90s on fire. With a body that turned heads and a smile that could stop traffic, she ruled Hollywood through Baywatch and Scary Movie. Born Tara Lee Patrick, she went from a young dancer mentored by pop icon Prince to one of the most desired women on the planet. But behind the glamour, fame came with chaos, and love turned into a battlefield. In 1998, Carmen's whirlwind romance with NBA bad boy Dennis Rodman became the stuff of tabloid legend. Their marriage in Las Vegas lasted just 9 days before passion spiraled into violence. 1 year later, it exploded in public view. In November 1999, inside a Miami Beach hotel, an argument between the two turned ugly. Police arrived to find the couple bruised, broken, and handcuffed. Rodman was charged with assault, Carmen with resisting arrest. Both were taken to jail, held on $2,500 bail, and ordered to stay 152 yards apart. That moment shattered her perfect image. The world saw not the sultry siren from Baywatch, but a woman caught in the wreckage of fame, ego, and emotional turmoil. Though the charges were later dropped and the marriage dissolved, the damage was done. Carmen's name became synonymous with the dangerous intersection of love and self-destruction. Today, at 53, she continues to reinvent herself, from red carpets to OnlyFans, still defiant, still dazzling. But that single night remains a dark stain on her legacy, proof that beneath the glitz, Hollywood's love stories can turn into tragedies. From icons of freedom to prisoners of passion, Carmen Electra's journey reminds us, fame can buy everything except peace of mind. Because in the end, fame gave them power, but ego, greed, and darkness took it all away. From Hollywood mansions to cold concrete cells, their stories echo one chilling truth: no star shines bright enough to escape the weight of justice. Before you leave, tell us, which actor's downfall shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to Exposed Hollywood for more untold stories from behind bars. See you in the next video.